Hey everybody, I'm Zach.
And I'm Jesse.
You're watching Disruptive Investing News, and it's about Fisker. Is it time to invest? And thank you, by the way, to Moomoo for sponsoring today's video.
We talk about the market and investments quite a bit, and lately we've seen lots of ups and downs.
Reading market reports can get complicated, and that's one reason why I like Moomoo.
You can track earnings reports and see a brief interpretation of the company that you're interested in their earnings hub.
So by clicking Markets and Explore and Earnings Hub,
you can find the interpretation of companies like Tesla and their earnings report, which gives you a quick view of how the company is running, and that can save you a lot of time.
And the best part right now is that Moomoo is giving away free stocks. So if you sign up using the link below, you'll get 1 free stock for opening an account. That's all you have to do. 4 more free stocks if you deposit just $100, and another 10 free stocks if you deposit $1,000.
As a special offer to our channel, when you deposit $100, you will actually receive 5 more stocks.
So that means in total, you'll receive up to 20 free stocks.
Use the link down below in the description for more details.
All right, so let's talk about Fisker, which has delivered its first electric Ocean SUV to a customer at its new facility in Copenhagen, Denmark. The Ocean is Fisker's first electric vehicle since revamping the brand in 2016.
Fisker has over 63,000 total orders and expects to deliver all Ocean One models by the end of September.
Although Fisker is focusing on the $69,000 top trim models currently, it does have lower price models in the pipeline with the Ultra and the Sport. We're going to talk about more of those later.
So as far as U.S. deliveries, Fisker has yet to announce when the first U.S. customers can expect their models.
So Fisker as a company, I really thought would not make it this far. Their founder, Henrik Fisker, is such a good hype man, and he's been hyping his brand for years with all sorts of claims.
The Fisker Karma plug-in hybrid really put Fisker on the map. It is a beautifully designed car, but as a hybrid with a 20 kilowatt hour, 333 volt battery, it was claimed to have a range of 50 miles on electric power alone, with a total range of over 300 miles. However, many real-world tests showed that the range was significantly lower.
In 2018, Fisker unveiled the eMotion electric sedan. It was claimed to have a range of over 400 miles on a single charge thanks to a new solid-state battery technology. Fisker says he hasn't forgotten about it, but there's been no news on it.
And Fisker claims that the Fisker Ocean SUV, the one that's started deliveries, has the highest driving range of any battery electric SUV currently available in Europe, with up to 707 kilometers or 440 miles on a single charge.
Now, that's WLTP range, and it hasn't been tested in the real world yet. So if he's right, it could beat the Model Y's range of 351 miles, but we just don't know yet. So it's worth noting that Henrik Fisker has also faced criticism and controversy over the years, including issues with the quality of the Fisker Karma, allegations of mismanagement and fraud at Fisker Automotive, and a failed attempt to launch a new electric vehicle brand, Fisker Incorporated, in 2013. But here we are in May of 2023 in a place I quite frankly didn't think we'd be, watching Henrik Fisker deliver the first Fisker Ocean SUVs.
He was able to do this by partnering with Austrian auto company Magna Steyr, which, by the way, has a 6% stake in Fisker.
So rather than having to build a factory from scratch and fill it with all the equipment and hire all the engineers and the line workers, Fisker went with Magna Steyr, which builds many cars like these. And as an investor, looking at this stock chart again and trying to decide if Fisker is worth investing in, well, I need more information. First, I need to know about their car, the Ocean, how it is in real life, and I need to look at Fisker's financials.
What we know about the Ocean is that they are currently going to deliver the first 5,000 extreme editions at $69,000. That makes sense to sell your most expensive model first and then get higher margins to help fund the company.
The Ocean Ultra, which is the $50,000 version, and the Ocean Sport, which is the $37,500 version, will follow. Unexpectedly low prices, by the way. I really didn't think they'd be able to get it down to $37,000, but apparently they will.
And here are some of the features that we haven't seen before, like the doggy windows.
Yeah, I don't really get, I guess that's just a little place where your dog can sit. Isn't that what a lot of cars have? And should you be putting your dog there? Like, a lot of people have said, like, you really shouldn't have your dog there in case you get into an accident. But
okay. Also, the Solar Sky roof option that can generate up to 2,000 miles of range per year, depending on where you live.
And again, this is only for certain trim levels. But yeah, that's cool. I love having solar panels. Although, again, I think it's a nice kind of cool feature, but I don't think it actually makes that big a difference when it's that small a panel. The California mode, that'll roll down all the windows by pushing just one button. including your Solar Sky roof. So you can drive along with your surfboard in the back and the wind in your hair, hence the name, the Ocean. But it's not selling in California.
And you might be saying, well, isn't that so stupid to have a California mother rolls down all the windows? I was in the Ford the other day, and I wanted to roll down all the windows. And so what that entailed was I had to, so first I could
You're talking about our F-150 Lightning?
F-150 Lightning. I could just hit the two front windows. Those both go down all by themselves because it has an auto mode. The two back windows don't have auto mode for whatever reason, unlike my car. A Model 3, by the way, which costs less than half. So you have to hold those down. Then you have to press... You have to find, there's like a cluster of buttons up here that you can't see or feel really.
Yeah.
So then you have to press the button that opens the screen, like the dark fabric over the window. And then you have to press the other button, which opens the sunroof, and then you have to press it again so that it'll actually open. Then you have to go and hit the button that'll open the rear window, and you have to hold that one as well because it's also not on auto.
Well, then you would love the Ocean.
And then when you park, you have to do all those steps in reverse. So honestly, not a bad feature.
Yeah, no, it's just funny to me though that it's kind of inspired by California, but no word on when it's coming there. But whatever.
The Sport base model will have a single motor powertrain with 275 horsepower and a 0 to 60 of 6.6 seconds. So nothing to write home about, especially when compared with the base model Tesla Model Y with 290 horsepower and 0 to 60 of 3.9 seconds.
By the way, I don't believe the Fisker will qualify for the U.S. federal tax credit at all because it's made in Austria. So in the U.S., the Model Y should stay competitively priced, i.e. cheaper.
Yeah, we have been hearing that everything but the top Extreme model of the Ocean will get the Cattle LFP batteries. The Extreme will get Cattle NMC batteries.
And we don't know the kilowatt hour size of the packs yet for sure, but it's speculated to be about 100 kilowatt hours.
Okay, so we know a bit about the car, but as a potential investor, I want to get my hands on it.
Yeah, I think that's super important. Now, maybe when we're in Amsterdam next month, we'll be able to track one down.
And hey, if you're getting an Ocean and you live in the Netherlands, email us at hello@nowyouknowchannel.com and please take us for a spin so that way we can report to everyone else what we think about the car.
Exactly. It's important. I mean, having the hands-on experience with the car is super important. It's better than just reading specs. But we do know a bit about Fisker's financials, though.
Fisker hit the open market through, you guessed it, a SPAC in late 2020. What are the odds?
Was every EV company doing that? So they trade on the New York Stock Exchange under the ticker symbol FSR. This brought Fisker more than $1 billion onto their balance sheet.
Starting an EV company ain't cheap.
Yeah, Fisker spent $702 million last year.
They still had $736 million in cash as of the end of last year.
So Fisker expects to spend between $535 million to $610 million this year in expenses. That's because they're really ramping up now. Fisker had a net loss of $170 million in 2022, which actually isn't bad considering they hadn't generated any revenue yet. They also sold more shares. So they have an ATM, and what that means is
you can just print money.
It's kind of like that. You go to the SEC and you ask them if you have permission to basically issue more shares. And you might be like, well, yeah, that's the whole point of the stock market. But that is kind of pre-approved. You don't have to ask your shareholders for that because you've already kind of like pre-asked them. And so they sold 350 million at the market or ATM shares last year. If you're not a shareholder, you're like, who cares? If you were a shareholder...
So they diluted.
They diluted your shares. So in my opinion, this is the make or break year for Fisker. Not only does the Ocean need to be a hit, but Magna Steyr needs to be able to pump them out cost effectively.
Fisker also has the Pair in the pipeline. They have 5,600 reservations for the Pair, which Fisker claims will have a base price of $29,900. Now,
I'm not quite sure why the Pair is important. I mean, it seems like to me, you should focus on the Ocean first, but because they've only issued these like kind of dark shots of the Pair, and at $29,900, I mean, that's an amazing price if it's a good car. But yeah, we don't know like what the range is going to be or the charging speed, and so I don't know. It and to me almost dilutes your brand a little bit if you're already talking about another vehicle instead of talking about this one. But look, I think I end up as a potential investor in the same spot I do with a lot of EV companies. How will Fisker compete with Tesla? That's my big question every time. Fisker doesn't have a charging network of their own.
But they're partnering with ChargePoint.
Case in point. Fisker doesn't talk much about autonomous driving.
Because they don't have the technology.
We don't know much about the safety of these cars yet because they haven't really been on the road still now.
We don't know Fisker's margins because they haven't started mass producing them yet.
We don't know how fast they charge.
We don't know how they'll be serviced.
We don't know how well built they are.
You see where we're going.
So Fisker has promised a lot of things for a number of years. If they had delivered back in 2015 or 2016, then this might be interesting. But as it is, what do they really have?
High range, beautiful designs. That's subjective.
Well, I mean, the Karma and the Emotion are stunning. I'll be honest about that. But the Ocean is...
an SUV.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have always felt that Fisker, as a company, was too good to be true. Other than... I mean, and I guess it even their first car, the Karma, it was a little bit too good to be true.
It was a hybrid.
It was a hybrid. It was super expensive. It was super fancy. It was just a fancy pants machine for fancy pants people.
Well, and look, if he had pulled it off, if he had come out with that car and an electric version like the Emotion, then it would have kind of launched his brand as this really quality Tesla-like brand, I think. But because the Fisker Ocean is pretty much the first real EV that you can get your hands on, this is what the market's going to think of his brand. And I'm not saying it's a bad car. I don't know anything about it yet, but it certainly isn't like an eye-popping car. And so to me, if this is the beginning of your brand and this is what people think of, I just don't know if it's enough when you compare yourself to Tesla. And so that's my big question here. As an investor, look, you might look at this stock chart and be like, whoa, I mean, they're like $6 a share. They started at $10 a share. So am I buying it on the cheap? They're valued at about $2 billion market cap. That's not wildly overpriced. I think it was really smart to partner with Magna Steyr. But on the other hand, what are you getting?
Yeah.
What is this company? They don't have a factory.
Right.
They're relying on Magna. And look, a lot of brands, as we showed you, rely on Magna to make their cars. But
we're not that thrilled about those brands either.
right. And look, we did ask a lot of questions there that we don't know the answers to.
Yeah.
I mean, just servicing. A lot of people are going to stay away from this car, even if they love it, because they're going to be worried, rightfully so, about where to get it serviced. And we don't have answers to that yet.
And the first car was delivered now. Okay. That doesn't mean anything, right? Zach and I have built an electric car. Okay. That don't invest money in our car company because we don't do that. Now, Magna is making it again, which is kind of the good news, but also the bad news. Because like you said, what are you investing in?
Right.
Tesla, you got gigafactories, you got battery facilities, you got drivetrains, you got all sorts of amazing technology and all sorts of other stuff, and solar and battery storage facilities and stuff like that. Of course, that's why you pay the premium for it, or that's why the company is valued higher. But I just don't know. I don't know how well this is going to do, and with the track record that Fisker has, I don't know.
Yeah, how do you scale? How do you keep your margins high if Magna is basically making the car for you and they're going to want to, I don't know what the deal is, but they've got to be making a bit on the car.
It's just a Magna car.
Right. It's a Magna car. And what you're really investing in is Henrik Fisker. Do you think he's just an amazing designer? Do you think he's got all the answers? I think it's kind of like the boy who cried wolf. I think he said, like, I've got this amazing 400-mile battery a few years ago, and then we never saw it. So I think he's a lot of talk because allegedly we haven't seen this battery yet. So I just think that, track record is important here. And if this is his first kind of launch in years, I'm going to stay away as an investor. That's just me. But again, disclaimer, we're not financial advisors. Don't take our advice without doing your own research.
And when you do that research, please put it on the Now You Know Investor Club Slack.
Yeah, so if you don't know what we're talking about, go over to Patreon. You can support us there for as little as $1 a month. If you want to support us for more and join our investor club, we have a Slack channel with a lot of smart people that talk about a lot of smart things, and we're not that smart. We go there to ask questions and to learn things, and that's how we can all stay on top of things and decide whether this is smart to put your money into.
Right. And the whole point of having the Slack is that it's a group effort. A lot of different people can bring a lot of different experiences all into a space that is a little curated. It's a safer place to be on the internet. I'm not
Right.
saying that you need to be a snowflake to go there. I'm just saying you don't have to go in there and start to try and prove out electric vehicles to anybody.
Right.
Everyone who's on there has watched us for probably a while, and we all get that Tesla is dominating, or at least that EVs are going to be the future.
And here's the thing. A lot of people who aren't in the EV space might be like, well, Fisker's got a solar panel on the roof. That's disruptive. And it's like, I'm not against it,
Yeah.
but it's not disruptive. It's not going to actually change much about how you drive the car. It's a cool feature to tell your friends about. And like your doggy mode and California mode and all that stuff is fun. I don't think it's disruptive. I don't think anything about this car is that. And, the things I would like to hear about, like autonomous driving, crickets. And that's because, hey, I don't blame it. They're a small company, and coming up with your own autonomous driving is literally impossible. So if they are going to put this into the car, they're going to have to put some third-party version of it. And again, how's that going to beat Tesla when, as Elon claimed this week, they're getting closer? And if you believe him, how would you compete with Tesla's team on this?
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next week on Disruptive Investing.